Power. So in agriculture and in life, we talk about power probably every day. So it could be the power of the equipment, that we want to have power in our equipment, or we put that energy and power into our tanks. We might talk about and celebrate the power of an athlete. Or it could be somebody's trying to achieve status and the power that sometimes comes with that. And we certainly experience the power of nature, don't we? But power is also an important concept for co-ops. And when we think about it for co-ops, we think about the power in numbers of working together for a common cause. A power, it can mean many things, but the word empower, it means giving power. When we are empowered, we are given the strength to conquer today's challenges and look to the future with confidence. That word empower, really special, I think, for co-ops. That's what we do. We empower our owners to do things that we could not do on our own, to work together for a future that is brighter than we could have ever imagined by working by ourselves. Being part of this cooperative system gives us the power to think bigger, act more decisively, and plan for the future, knowing we are empowered to succeed. Collaboration, the shared success, they're possible when we work together as owners and from a strong cooperative system and from a strong CHS. So that's really what empowers us. So I'm glad to be here today to report on behalf of this Board of Directors of CHS. Now, every year, we all know it's different. But I think 2021 is probably going to be remembered as remarkable, just in countless ways. But one thing remained consistent. This board's focus on empowering our owners and empowering our customers all over the world. Our board has been on a journey side by side with management, working on this well-planned out strategic journey to make this company better. Started with the strong foundations. We're going to put these building blocks in place to manage our resources more effectively, your resources, and to control our risks. Secondly, we're going to rethink how we do business. Management is on a multi-year plan to make this company better, make it more efficient, rethink how products and information flows through the company. Not just trying to leverage a business unit, but the entire enterprise of CHS. And last, then, now that we have these building blocks, we've layered on data, analytics, technology. Being able to now come to you with a better relationship, a deeper relationship. So your board has also taken on some aspects of governance that will make a stronger foundation and looking to the future, looking at it differently. Tomorrow, you're going to vote on amendments to the articles and bylaws of CHS. These amendments are going to clean up some language, some obsolete language that we no longer use in the company. And it's going to affirm our ability to vote electronically. Now, if you remember, these were planned for 2020, and because of the pandemic and not meeting in person, we put that on hold. And so we're going to bring that to you tomorrow. We will talk about it in the caucuses and then bring it to you tomorrow. These amendments, they're going to clear up our language and make these bylaws and articles more relevant and aligned with the way that we do business today. And confirming that ability to vote electronically, it ensures our owners, you, have the opportunity to be involved in our governance in a way that kind of makes sense as we evolve. These are appropriate amendments, and our board believes it's time to take this step. Now, through this process, you've had many opportunities to ask questions and provide input, And our board wants you to know this is a vital part of the process, and we believe a very important part of this process. The pandemic also highlighted the need to add some flexibility in our director elections. At the caucuses tomorrow, you're going to hear about another bylaw amendment that the board is recommending for the 2022 annual meeting. Now, this bylaw is going to add some flexibility in the timing and the location of our director election meetings. Flexibility that will ensure participation from our owners, as many of our owners as possible, and it's an option, but not a requirement, to schedule a time and a place different from this annual meeting. And we hope it will be then convenient for you, our owners. It won't change the director terms, won't change the process of the election, but the board will then recommend that to you for the 2022 annual meeting. Now, we will continue to be transparent with you through the next year and explain that, and the governance committee, Tracy, is going to make sure that that happens. Another primary focus of the board is equity management, and we've talked about that several times with you. Last year at this annual meeting, we told you we were going to pass back $33 million of equity redemptions and $30 million of cash patronage, and that would be distributed in the 2021 year. We talked to you at the time about the pillars that we use when we look through equity management. And this was, first of all, we're going to maintain a strong balance sheet. That's an absolute. We're going to focus the company for growth and prepare this company for growth. And then lastly, we're going to do what is in the best interest of CHS. And when we say that, we mean CHS, the company that includes all of its owners. We talked to you at the time about our focus when we think about how much to pass back on cash flow, maintaining a strong balance sheet, and then living within our means. And at the time, we promised you that we would monitor those results, and if possible, we would increase the cash back to you, our owners. Well, we kept that promise. After the third quarter earnings, the board reviewed the results, and as we might expect, the first part of the year was tough. It was a tough first part of the year. But this team, they buckled down. They made some hard decisions. And our employees all over the world executed on a strategy, and they brought us some good, strong earnings in the second half. With that in mind, your board authorized an additional $50 million of redemptions, which was also paid out in 2021. In total, for the 2021 fiscal year, we paid out $109 million of cash. This is just tangible examples of the board's focus on you, our owners, and the strength of our CHS system. For 2022, we're going to use that same lens of looking at cash flow management, balance sheet strength, and then living within our means. With that in mind, the board authorized $150 million of cash back to you, our owners, for the 2022 fiscal year. $50 million in cash patronage, $100 million in equity redemptions. Now, Olivia, in her CFO report tomorrow, will give you more details on that. Your board and your management team believe that this equity management and a strong patronage program are key and vital to our success at CHS, and a competitive advantage for the cooperative system. Now, you can be assured that your board and John, the capital committee, they are laser focused on this issue. We have engaged outside experts to give us analysis, advice, looking at with the management team at options and strategies, looking at scenarios, and then how do those scenarios affect CHS, the company, and our owners over the long term. Now, considering the effects on the company and our owners is not easy. John, we know that we have an extremely diverse set of owners. They have an extremely diverse set of views on equity management and patronage. Over the next year, we will reach out to you, and we're going to talk to you about some of the challenges that we see with our equity management and our patronage program, some ideas that we have, levers, if you will, that we can pull, and then we're going to listen, get your feedback. And based on that input, we will come back to you with some strategies for an adjusted equity program for CHS. We're going to be open and transparent, and we intend to use the power of the collective thought of our owners to come up with the best solution for CHS. Our approach to equity management is just an example of the board challenging itself to think a little differently, a little more visionary, getting a broader perspective, a fresh look at what can we do now, considering what we can achieve by working together differently now that we have these building blocks in place. With these strong foundations, we're shifting our focus a little more onto strategy. And our strategic planning process is forcing us to challenge our status quo, ask hard questions, seek out inclusive input to look at a bigger picture. We have realigned the board time to shift it some more time on to strategy. We're taking time to look at this 1 to 5 year time frame, which is the operating strategy for the company. And how are we monitoring the execution? How is management progressing on that? And then we're taking some time to look at this 5 to 10 year time frame. What do the business units need to do today to get ready for that 5 to 10 year look? And then we're taking some time to look at that 10 to 20 years and beyond. And we're using our strategic planning time for looking at those things that are coming down at us. Some of the things we've already looked at are electric vehicles, renewable fuels, alternative energies. How does that affect our energy platform? Or carbon capture and carbon trading. Not what we're doing today, but what's the long term look like? What's sustainable in the long term, and how does CHS fit in that? Or what are those technologies we're going to be using on our farms in the future? And then how will CHS need to adapt to that? It's to broaden our thoughts, see the world from a perspective probably that maybe we don't share. But by working together on this kind of in-depth, open-minded strategic planning, our board and our management team can position this company for a very strong and successful future. So I'm very proud of what this board has done on your behalf. I want to thank them for their insights, their ideas, their leadership. If you could please stand, board and spouses, if you would please stand. I would like to acknowledge all of your contributions to CHS and our strong company. Thank you. Your board, as we had discussed, is focused on creating a better future for CHS. You may have got a glimpse of that today in some of the sessions you attend, some of the things that the company is putting in place. Tomorrow, Jay will be speaking about that further in some more detail. This idea of adapting to change and facing the future, it's going to be so important for us. The CHS of today, the CHS that is working today, is not the CHS we're going to need tomorrow. We're going to need to adapt. I was reminded of this summer, this need to adapt. I had the opportunity to go to Kansas City, and I went into an office building. It was an old warehouse, and it happened to be in the old stockyards area of Kansas City. Beautiful big warehouse they had remodeled into a office building. And as you walked in, there was a picture on the wall of the old stockyards, the Kansas City stockyards in its prime. And I was instantly reminded of my childhood memory, and I had forgot about it, going to Chicago, to the Chicago stockyards with my dad. Well, this was a big event. I got out of school, I got in a truck with my dad, and he would load a few head of cattle in the back, and off we went to Chicago. And you get there, and there's just trucks everywhere. And we'd go in and we'd talk to our broker in one of the office buildings. He would take us to lunch at one of the restaurants, and then we would go out in the pens. And those of you who've been there, there are the pens everywhere. In my perspective as a little child, they went on forever. And then they had these walkways all over on top that you could walk. And we'd walk out there, and I'm trying to run behind my dad to keep up, to go find our cattle in our pen. And when we get there, we're talking to the broker, and we're talking to the potential buyers, and he's really proud of these cattle and the way he took care of them, and he explains that to them. And they talk about it, and pretty soon there's a trade. The deal's done. So these stockyards, whether they were in Chicago or Kansas City or in South St. Paul, they were enormous facilities. They had all these pens, they had rail yards, they had the processing companies, Armour and Swift and others, right there on site. They even had covered bridges that would go over the rail and the roads for the cattle and other livestock to go over. Kansas City stockyards in its prime was bringing in 55,000 head of livestock a day and other animals. Enormous hubs of commerce. Today, all gone. They're all gone. Now, there could be a relic entryway or a building that got repurposed, but they are all gone. See, that world for that industry changed. And that industry changed with it. The underlying business is still there, still operating efficiently, probably more efficiently than it ever has. So why am I telling the story? Well, it's not to relive a childhood memory, but to reinforce the value, when I'm going to say the necessity that we look at things differently. We have to imagine the possibilities with the future that we have in front of us, and that we have to make them happen. For CHS, we believe this means we need a deeper relationship with you, our owners, and our customers, learning about your needs, listening to how CHS can help you, and then leveraging the global scale of CHS. It's going to require us to think differently. We're going to have to envision this future and then make it a reality. Stop thinking about our interaction as a transaction and start thinking about what is the power of what we can create for this future. Just imagine if we could aggregate the information about grain from all of our owners, all of our cooperatives, all of our farmers. Leverage that with what our company knows about transportation and the logistics to supply our ships that are sitting in the ports, whether they're in the Gulf, the Great Lakes, or out in the Pacific Northwest, and do that as efficiently as possible, capturing that value for us, not somebody else, but for us. And what if we could do that with fertilizer also, knowing what your needs are, when you're going to need it, what space do you have available? Leveraging that with what we know about what's coming off of CF nitrogen, what imports we have coming off into the Gulf or into Pacific Northwest from places all over the world. Allowing us to leverage the global scale of CHS, capturing that value, bringing it back here for our farmers and ranchers. So our approach, it's based on this value of cooperative ownership. It's based on the strength of CHS. I have tremendous optimism about the future. So if you just think about the combined power that we have, those joining this meeting today, we have the foundations in place. We have a cooperative structure. Now, we just need to harness this strength to create a great future for CHS and all of our owners. You see, we have the power to create a vibrant future for this cooperative system, for our employees, the communities we live in, our farmers and ranchers all over this country. We can do this if we work together to create connections and empower our owners, empower our cooperatives. Creating connections that empower agriculture. That is how we define power. Thank you.